Okay, it is Saturday evening, 10:33, December 27th. We are going to look at the miners. We're then going to take a look at gold and silver and whatever else comes to mind, but I will focus on those for today. So let's start with Agnico Eagle Mines. Look at this. With three trading days left in the month, it's up 5.3%. Look at the little spiky candle floor from 160. It did cool back, but the buyers are just continuing to pile in. I mean, it printed 187 in October. If gold is 5,000, you got to think this could be at least testing 200, right? What an incredible run. See that? Note this little price clustering in second half of 2024, around the 78s. And of course, it held the 10 of May, and off we went. Hell, only October was a down month, literally one down month out of the last year. Incredible. Great company. First Majestic Silver. I mean, it's up 14.4% on the month. Again, you can see a little cooling waves, but then they spike it back up again. You can see another spike on this monthly candle. RSI 78 overbought, but it is notable that First Majestic is lagging. I mean, it was $23 in February of 21. So it's got some way just to get up to that level. I like the company though. It's one of the arguably, yeah, it's definitely one of the top three silver miners out there. And we're clearly set for a very powerful net monthly gain. No sign of a top. You could argue that if silver's 100, First Majestic should be testing the 23s. Ah yes, Anglo Gold Ashanti, new historic high up 6.5% on the month. Gold is 5K, then Anglo Gold should be at least 100. Barrick Mining up 11.8% on the month and 46s. So if gold is 5K, what should this be? You got to think, I mean, 55 to 60, maybe. Again, RSI is 87. It's clearly overbought, but that could remain the case for months at a time. Arguably, second best miner, first being Newmont. For mining, okay, it's up 11.1% at 1919. I could understand people with a target of 34s. It's arguable that if silver's 100, this should be at least, well, should be at least above the recent 23s. Should has a good chance of maybe 30, but not a fan of it. I mean, it's a sector underperformer for a better part of 20 years. I accept it. It's had a great run from $2, but in terms of quality, it is not. DRD Gold, South African miner, an ADR, not a stock, but near a historic high up 10.5% on the month. Again, you can see October, November, December candles are a little bit spiky on the lower side as the buyers are coming in still. And yeah, the upper candles are a little bit spiky as well for October and December. So there's some sellers out there, but 10.5% on the month, that's bullish. You got to think if gold is 5,000, DRD should be around 40. EXK, Endeavor Silver. This one's struggling considering silver. It's only up 1.5% on the month. I would note the November and December candles very spiky on the lower side, showing that the buyers are still piling in, but it is a laggard to the sector. And it is still below. Think about this. EXK is $10. In 2011, when silver was 49, it was 13. Silver's now 79. It's not even close to the 13s. Franco Nevada. So 3.8% on the month. You know, you can see the candle's a little bit spiky on the lower side of buyers out there. Technically, the candle's a hammer candle, right? Actually, you can note the October candle, bearish engulfing, that did play out briefly in early November. It's a royalty miner. Most people won't care about it. Goldfields, GFI. New historic high, 47.60. I mean, look at it. It's up 8.6% on the month. If gold's 5,000, you got to think 55 to 60. Club mining, new historic high, up 20.1% on the month. Now you see, this is more like it, right? This is a silver miner that is trading appropriately to silver, unlike EXK and First Majestic. This is what you want to be seeing. So we've had a hell of a run from the 6s to 21s. RSI is 85. Yeah, we're overbought, but that's probably going to remain the case for at least another month or two, right? If silver's 100, yeah, you could see that maybe close to, I think, yeah, 25 at least. I mean, it's 21 just recently. So 25 to 30 maybe before maxing out. Harmony Gold. Pretty typical of a sector, up 10.5%. It's still below the October high, which is kind of interesting, but that's okay. You know, look at the way it's spiking from the 10 MA. That's a good example. It did briefly break below in December of 24, but it had a powerful rebound. Kinross Gold, new historic high at 5.7 in the 29s. So you're going to think if gold is 5,000, what's this going to be? At least 35 to 40. Again, you can see the buyers coming in with this little spike off the low was what, 26s, yeah. Again, look at how the 10 MA is broad support. Best gold miner in the world, Newmont. Ticker NEM, currently up 15, what is that, 16? 16.6% at 105. So new historic high. Newmont is appropriately leading the entire sector. If gold's 5,000, I think this one should be around 125 to 130. That does look possible end of January. Pan American Silver, arguably the best of the silver miners, powering up 21.3%, new historic high in the 55s. If silver's 100, you think maybe 65 to 70. Incredible run. Also note that the November candle was bullish engulfing, and that played out. Royal Gold hardly ever gets mentioned by anyone, including myself. Royal Gold's up 14.5%, new historic high, 233. If gold's 5K, this should be at least 250. SSR mining, not a particular fan of this one. I mean, it's had a good run, but you know, considering considering everything, it's actually down 0.5%. Not great. Not great, really. I mean, again, you could argue, hey, look, buyers are coming in relative to silver. That's not great. Wheat and precious metals up 12.7%, actually 12.9. 124s, new historic high. Another great example of a stock finding support around the 10 MA all the way along till early 24. If silver's 100, you think 140 maybe? Looks pretty realistic. I think that's it for that. So let's go to commodity gold. Start with daily charts. Again, this is one reason why I've actually been confident enough to keep being long silver, because price structure in gold was a big bullish pennant. And you can see it's been choppy, right? But it's generally leaning up. You can see it's also been holding the 10 MA. So, and the size of this pennant kind of suggests to me that we're going to get a 5,000. And then, of course, a retrace might come down to maybe 4,500 to 4,381, that high. So, yeah, based on structure, I think gold's going straight to 5K. Realistically, late January, early Feb. Looking on a weekly chart, perspective is good, right? Who doesn't love some perspective? Look at this bullish pennant. Off we go. Big bullish pennant. Powers up. Another bullish pennant. Confirmed again. Look at this. Look at this cat just powering up. There's zero sign of a top here, right? Look, we were up $189 for the week. And relative to silver, gold is grossly underperforming, but that's normal. Gold is far more steady and stable than silver. So 4.5% on the week, zero sign of a top. Yes, you can argue RSI 79 is overbought, but it could remain that way for another few weeks or months. Some grander perspective. This is too grand. We need to go to the slightly smaller, but on a monthly chart still. I mean, look at this. 1613 in 2022. Big breakout above 2K. 3,500 was interesting resistance. And it did look like gold might actually break down here, but when it resumed upwards, you see when it broke above 3,500, it surged. And there was some sellers around 4,381 in October, but here we are again. New historic high in gold, 45.49. We are up $314, 7.5% for the month. On any basis, that's an incredible run. 5K looks realistic late January, early Feb. Again, RSI is 93. We have literally been overbought on the monthly chart since April of 2024. So it's a great example. It's like, okay, it's overbought, but it can remain that case for a long time. So it's even more overbought, sustainably overbought than 2019 through 20. 5K is coming, right? I might jump back to copper in a moment, but let's jump to silver. Silver on a daily. So Friday printed a new historic high according to stock charts of 79.20. RSI is 87. I don't think it's ever been this overbought. Ever. I mean, because remember, my original target a month ago was I was looking for 70 to 75 by mid-January. And I thought, yeah, I thought that's pretty likely. I thought that was realistic by mid-January. So it's happened 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Now I've got to wonder what's going to happen next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Are we going to see a little bit of a sideways chop? Because what we could see, right? Considering gold, I'm guessing that maybe silver will either cool back a little bit and maybe just build a bull flag, right? You see this bull flag here in early December? All we did was churn sideways for about what? 4 or 5 days, and then off we went again. Look at that. Look at how the 10 MA held as support. So the 10 MA is currently 68. That'll be around $70 soon. So we could churn around, maybe cool back to 75. Of course, you know, if the market wants to gap it up another 10% on Monday, then that's how it is. But I do lean a little bit bearish for a day or two, but I would be a buyer on any cooling wave, any degree of cooling. I will be a buyer again. On a weekly chart, silver looks ridiculous. I mean, look at that. You can use, and I've seen people use the word parabolic. That's we have an acceleration in the upward trend. So silver on the week was up officially $11.99, which is just unbelievable. 17.9%. So if you think silver's got to go up to $100, okay, well, $100 is another. Let's just call it $20. Makes the math easier. $20 on 80 is another 25%. So 25% probably won't occur next week because it's holiday week next week. It's unlikely. So I would expect another 25% across the next 3 weeks would be my guess. It wouldn't surprise me if actually next week is a net decline, but not very much. Maybe something like that candle here, like where we just kind of stall a little bit and then off we go again. But that is a parabolic candle, and yeah, we could print 100 at any point. Hopefully, I'll be part of that trade, but I'm not holding silver this weekend. That's for. But I generally don't like holding anything across the weekend for various reasons. Silver on a monthly. Let's just jump to a slightly narrower time frame. Yeah, there's one. Look at that. Look at that. That's an incredible chart. You see all of this just years of churn, little bump in 2020, and then just more years of churn. It's only really since July. Well, actually, not even July, like August, September, when we really started to pick up some momentum. October was a bit of a chop here. I was worried about October that might be a stall, but nope. The buyers came in, which was when I really started to get confident again. So the November candle was strong. The December candle is just amazing. It's like we're up $22.72. We are up 40.3% on the month. So regardless of the next few days, say arguably the most bearish case would be that silver cools off maybe 3-4%, maybe even 5%. I don't know. I don't think it's likely. Maybe a couple of percent, if that, briefly. But then the issue question would be, what's the January candle? I think there's a good chance, considering the size of this candle, you think we're going to go up another $10 or $11 within January. That'll get us to $90. And if we go up another 20, 21, we'll effectively be at 100, which is when you have to ask the question, that's probably as high as we could expect in the near term. I would be shocked if we just blast through 100 and just keep going. That would be very odd. Um, at some point, the buyers would be exhausted, and the sellers will start to just keep piling in. On a monthly chart, again, if we were to say we were to get to 100, the monthly chart will offer support around $50 in January, February, March with a 10 of May. We could easily we could hit we could hit 100. The most bearish case would be we would back test the old double top of 2011/1980 all the way back to around $50. I don't think we'll go that low. I think the buyers will come in somewhere between 75 and maybe 55. But anyway, first things first. Regardless of the next few days before into year end, you got to think we're going to go to 100, right? $100 silver, 5K gold. That seems probable. The only issue is, can I find an acceptable entry again? So for me, I jumped the, my last trade was I jumped the board here on Christmas Eve, which of course was half day, and I sold early Friday, which of course was way too early. But, you know, I took my money and ran. Very good gain. So now I'm gonna hope, I'm gonna have a vain hope that but either on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we get back down to yellow gap. But that I accept that looks a stretch because typically most of the time right now we're flooring around the hourly 10 MA. And even when we broke it, what all that happened, right, was we turned around for a day and off we resume upwards again, and then gap on that day, and gap on that day. And of course Friday gap. But we're getting so many gap ups. Also note on this chart you can see a number of black candles, the opening black candles. There's one there. There's one. There's one. There's one. So that one played out pretty good. But again, all the bears can manage is like an hour or two down. That's it. And then the buyers come in again, myself included. So I will tell you this. If on Monday silver gaps up, whatever it is, I will hope for a black candle that we call back at least to the 10 MA, which is currently 68. Of course, that'll be actually probably 69 on Monday, right? Yeah. But we could drop a couple of bucks on Monday. I want to give you some closer perspective on a 15-minute. So you see on a 15-minute, we maxed out in the morning. We actually turned negative in the afternoon on a cyclical basis. I want to be buying because this is what I did on Christmas Eve. Look, I was buying when the cycle was on the low side and when that little black MACD line was kind of lower than it was the previous day. So I don't want to be buying with the cycle up here. I want to be buying somewhere down here, which again would be yellow gap. You can even see on a 15-minute chart, opening black candle on Friday, black candle on Christmas Eve, and this is what again, this is where I was buying. So this again, it's amazing. We've been going up so high. These cooling waves look so tiny, right? Silver was up 1% Christmas Eve morning, and I bought it and it's down 1.5%. Ironically, it even closed positive and then jumped. And I was like, this is a hell of a good. It was a perfect entry, effective in my view. My exit was too early, but that's okay. I'm never gonna. This is something to most people shouldn't realize. It's like you're rarely, you're rarely going to catch the bottom, and you're rarely going to exit the top. If you can get, if you can get 75% of a trading range, that's good. It's very good. I'd settle for 50% of the maximum possible gain. Again, there's another one. Look, red, orange gap. All the market did was just churn it sideways before we gapped up again and again and again. So I will hold hope that somehow we will come back down on Monday or Tuesday. But we could just churn sideways for a day or two, like here or here. Of course, we could gap up. If we gap up, I ain't chasing it. I'll just let it go. I will not chase, especially in a holiday week. Well, keep in mind, next week is a 4-day week with Thursday closed for New Year's, of course. So price action will be a bit skewed, and in theory, trading volume will be pretty light for the main market. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna hope it comes back to yellow gap where I would be I'd comfortably be buying back somewhere in here. Of course, again, if it gaps up, then I'm gonna just have to let it go. Also, actually, I was gonna briefly look at copper. I know people don't care, but they should. Um, Dr. Copper, look at Dr. Copper. Copper's up 59 cents on the month, 11.4% at 578. We're clearly, it looks like we're going to break into the sixes. And I think we're going to see the sevens or even the eights next year. So I think we could see copper 7, 8, gold 7 to 8K, silver would be 150 or more. But you got to expect some turbulence and wild retracements, and those retracements will be scary. And the higher we go, the smarter traders will be trading more cautiously, either smaller position sizing, you know, rolling out options to much further out, that sort of thing. But yeah, we're going up, right? Do I want to look at Bitcoin gold ratio? I don't know. I'll flash the chart briefly. It's come down to the 19s. Don't care. Dow gold ratio. Yeah, I mean, look, gold's outperforming the Dow, so it's down to 10, which is the lowest level since 2013. Nobody really cares about the Dow gold ratio, but it's just kind of, it's again, be careful with ratios. Um, I will say on a price structure in the dollar, that's a, you could argue that's a bear flag so long as we hold under DXY 100. Of course, if a dollar drops down towards DXY 90, then gold will be pressured upwards. And the one I was originally looking for was gold silver ratio, which currently has plummeted from 100, which was crazy high, and now it's down to 57. Historically, 32 marks key low in 2011. That was when gold was 1900 and silver was 49. And back in 1983, ratio was 32, and 32 again in 1980, back when silver was also around 49. Don't know what gold was back then, I forget. But yeah, 32. 32 is a big number in the gold ratio, gold silver ratio. Just happens to be that way. So, you know, I know some people, there's a few crazy people out who think gold silver ratio might be 20 to 1 or 10 to 1. I wouldn't get too fixated on it. It's really not that important. And again, it's just a ratio. Absolutely, I would be bullish gold and silver for the next 5, 6, 7 years. You know, who knows? Nobody knows if gold's going to go to 10K, 20K or higher. I don't know. Nobody knows. I do have pretty high confidence, though, that the direction is broadly up. I know that much. I know that silver. I know that silver has just had a 45-year breakout, and it's gone from the breakout level of 49 to 79 in 3 months. $30 in 3 months. That's just the break. That is just a breakout move in silver. Bullish silver for the next 5, 7 years. I would definitely be open to the notion that silver's going to go to 500. But again, we're talking 5, 6, 7 years. What chart do I want to end on? Let's end with I'm almost tempted to go into other things, but I'm going to keep this video just for gold and the miners. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Didn't look at GDX. Yeah. I mean, the miners have been relative to gold, they're performing, but relative to silver, they are underperforming. I mean, look, I will say Friday printed a new historic high. For the week, miners were up 4.7%, new historic high. The structure is similar to gold and silver. It's just, you could argue that the gold miners are performing with gold and they're kind of holding back GDX as a sector. But again, broadly, I mean, look, for the month, we're up 10.5%, $91. You got to think if gold's 5,000, silver's 100, GDX should be itself close to 100, which would make for an interesting short-term top. The volume, apart from October, GDX volume has not been great at all. I mean, look at this. This was maybe of 2020 March COVID low, and then of course for commodity low in early 2016. Look at the buyers that came in here. Nobody cares about GDX for the last 5 years or so, really. It's interesting. Let's end with the silver. Yeah, silver weekly chart. That's the amazing one. Look at it. Look at that. $11.99, 17.7% in a week. So whatever happens next week, and it will be a short 4-day week, I think we're heading to 100 with gold 5,000. Now, whether that's January or February, I don't think it particularly matters. And again, at some point, we're going to get stuck, and then we're going to see a really ugly retracement, and it's going to scare the hell out of a lot of people. And the smart people, you know what the smart people are right now? The really smart people are reducing position size, and they're going to be building up reserves so they can buy this when it retraces, whenever that is. That retracement might not be until February or March. I don't know. Nobody knows. But it can't keep going up like this forever. At some point, it will max out. It will get stuck. It'd be quite entertaining to see it fall back and see how fast it can fall back. Anyway, interesting week ahead. Been interesting few months, right? My God. And next year it's going to be even more wild. There's no doubt about that. Here's a straight. I will leave you with this question. And I thought about it seriously. It's like, do you ever think we will ever see silver below $50? Ever again? It is entirely possible we never see silver below $50 ever again. And that thought should be in your mind because after a 45-year breakout, we have pent up demand starting to build pressure, and the higher we go, the more difficult it's gonna be to get back to 50. It's also like suggesting that do you ever think we'll see gold at 2,000 again? It's like no way, right? We're never gonna see gold at $2,000 again, ever. Hell, I don't even think right now. I would be pretty confident in saying I don't think we'll ever see gold below $4,000 ever again, and that is a wild thought. Kind of makes me smile. There's a lot of happy gold bugs out there. Physical, especially the physical stackers. They know. They know this monetary charade is unraveling, and it's being displayed in gold and now silver. But yeah, have a good weekend, and yeah, soon it'll be a new year. Be good.